It's no secret that many of us are struggling right now to make ends meet, or to get ahead, or to survive. The economy is rough. The prices of everything have drastically outpaced our salary/wages. And that's assuming that we even have a salary/wage in the first place, since many companies are just not hiring right now, and many people have been laid off. Now, I'm one of the fortunate ones to still have a job. I have two actually. Some people consider side hustles/other income streams as a job. I don't. When I say two jobs, I mean I'm employed and am paid an annual rate/hourly rate at two different workplaces. If you consider side hustles a job, then I have at least four. One of my jobs involves a degree, and the other is a minimum wage job. You'd think the degree job alone would be enough to survive. Nope. I literally need the extra minimum wage job in order to survive/get ahead. The degree I picked was accounting, a useful degree. I made a video recently on how to pick a useful degree. I actually made a longer one ages ago, but not many people ended up watching that one. And I've had the minimum wage job since I was 15. I just held the job since then. I just didn't quit or get fired. So I'll go over the rough figures involved with my income, alongside what things cost here in Australia. Now, it'll depend on your city, but rent here is around $540 a week. But it can obviously go higher. But these are for houses, I hear you say. Why not go for an apartment? Well, they're not cheap either. In prior videos, I calculated that if you rented with roommates in 2021, if it cost $250 a week and then $300 a week for 2022, 2023, and 2024, you would have spent $59,800 in only 4 years on living expenses. And if you lived on your own, if it cost $450 in 2021, then $500 a week in 2022 to 2024, you would have spent $101,400 in only 4 years. And keep in mind, that's using pretty cheap figures. As you saw before, rent is more expensive than this. So in just the past 4 years alone, you're going to be at least 60 grand out of pocket. That's a lot of money. That could be a huge component of your down payment for a house. And with rental vacancies so low, and immigration only set to continue to outpace the rate in which houses are being built, or dwellings are being built, you need to get your own place. Forget rental income and capital growth, you need your own place for the stability. If you get evicted by your landlord, it's becoming harder and harder to get another place to rent. You could end up either homeless or having to move hours away from your current location, which involves uprooting your life, moving jobs, basically a huge overhaul of your life. Is that something you really want to have to do? So let's get our own house then. For this, you need two main things. One, a down payment, and two, the ability to service a loan, aka stable employment that pays enough, or a business with a good track record. With house prices being well over $700,000 in my area, and more if you go out to the capital cities, generally you require a 20% down payment. Well, 20% of $700,000 is $140,000. That's a huge chunk of money to have sitting on the sidelines. How are you supposed to save this with rent costing upwards of $600 a week? And all the while, salaries haven't kept up with home prices either. In general, at current rates, you can borrow around 5 times your salary. So if you had a $140,000 down payment, a $700,000 house take away a $140,000 down payment equals $560,000 required to be borrowed from the bank. $560,000 divided by 5 equals $112,000. In this scenario, you need to earn $112,000 a year just to be around the ballpark to qualify for a loan, providing you had $140,000 on standby, and providing you found something that only costs $700K. Spoiler alert, not likely in this country. This also isn't to mention all the extra fees. So many extra fees involved with getting a house. So good luck getting your own place, and good luck keeping up with rent payments too. If you earn $83,200 a year, that leaves your gross weekly amount at around $1,263.50. If we say rent is $600 a week, you're basically spending half your income on rent, and $83,000 is a good salary, and $600 in rent is kind of cheap. This also doesn't count your car, fuel, groceries, insurance, etc. Even worse if you have a family to take care of. Okay, I hear you say, so move somewhere else that has higher income. Lol, easier said than done. But okay, let's say you move to Melbourne for a salary of 120,000 bucks. Pretty doable for accounting and other careers. You can go way higher, but currently for me at my age and career experience, probably not likely. If you did this, now your net pay is $1,742.60 per week. But living in a high cost of living area means you also have higher rents. Forget about renting houses, we're going to have to do apartments. You can obviously find cheaper, but you can use that argument for any situation. Apartments for 830 bucks a week in Melbourne, not rare at all. So if we move to Melbourne, once again, you're still almost spending half your income on rent alone. In the first case, 600 bucks divided by 1,263 bucks equals 47% of your net income on rent. In this case, 830 bucks divided by 1,742 bucks equals, once again, 47% of your net income on rent. There's no way around it. If you live in a lower cost of living area, your living costs are lower, but so is your salary. If you move to a high cost of living area, your salary goes up, but so does your rent. You'd still end up saving more in the high cost of living area with this example, but this also assumes that you can just uproot your life and go live in the big city. And it also presumes you just find a high paying job easy peasy. And it assumes your rent costs don't explode out of control. So safe to say, you're pretty screwed in this economy if you don't already own housing. I'll come back to housing later, but for now let's talk about insurance. I saved on my car insurance by shopping around. Don't use the compare the market thing. The figures they gave me were actually higher than what I found by shopping around myself. I found a cheap deal with Bingle, 383 bucks a year. I used to be with Budget Direct, but they're still more expensive. I got third party only. Full comprehensive insurance for my car just isn't worth it. I've been driving for almost 10 years. Never even had so much as a fender bender. If I had paid full comprehensive that whole time, I'd easily be 25,000 bucks extra out of pocket. If my car gets wrecked, I'll just buy a new one. I only have third party in case I somehow get blamed for trashing someone else's Lamborghini. Like if someone hits my car and then in turn my car hits someone's Lambo, pretty sure I'd have to pay for the damages. So that's why I get third party. This isn't to mention all the other types of insurance out there like home and contents, health/life insurance, etc. So, as if housing wasn't bad enough, insurance is also gouging you. Luigi Mangione intensifies. You could just not get insurance, but in many cases this is a bad gamble, and it shouldn't have to come to that. If housing was cheaper, you'd have more spare money for insurance without having to worry about it. Everything in Australia stems from housing. Fix the housing/shelter issue in your life, and everything else becomes easier. Next target, groceries. Now, in the past, I made a comment on how the big supermarkets weren't price gouging, and my argument was it's just the general cost of everything else. Welp, I was wrong. The big supermarkets in Australia are under fire for it. When you compare profit margins between the Australian supermarkets versus the United States and United Kingdom, there's a larger amount. Doesn't seem like much, but on the scale of these supermarkets, there's a lot of extra money in some slight margin increases. So, higher grocery costs are also stinging. Let's just run through some rough figures. Using our first example, salary of 83,000 bucks a year, 600 bucks a week in rent, $1,263.50 in gross weekly take-home pay. Well, take away the 600 bucks in rent, we've got $663.50 left over. Let's say splitting insurance annually into a weekly amount costs around $150.50 per week for it all. We're now at 513 bucks left over. Let's say groceries are 120 bucks a week. Now we're at $393 a week. Fuel is 70 bucks a week. Now we're at 323 bucks. Fuel is another bad one here in Australia. Recently petrol has been going up, and I believe it's due to the strength in the United States dollar. It's that or an increased demand from China. Haven't looked into the economy lately, but I'm pretty sure it's the foreign exchange fluctuation. My fuel is usually more expensive. It's around 90 bucks a week. But even being conservative here, $70 a week is pretty standard. Point is, after a lot of essentials, we're only left with $323 a week. This also assumes rent is this cheap. Your salary is this high. The fuel, insurance, and groceries are this cheap. You could easily end up with double digits in spare money by the end of the week. I could easily adjust these figures to the point where we end up with less than $100 a week. So we could go into way more calculations, but you get the point. Shit's fucked. I didn't even consider anything about like childcare costs or anything either. Now it's time to reveal a little bit about myself. I have 2 jobs, so what are they? One is in accounting, my 9 to 5. I have a base salary of $80,000. This doesn't include my super or extra bits and bobs that my work pays for, like my CPA membership. My second job is at Woolworths. I'm part of those pesky price gouge people. I work weekends. Your rate at Woolies is tied to the General Retail Industry Award, which is currently $26.06 per hour. On Saturdays and after 6 p.m. weeknights, you get an extra 25%. On Sundays after 9 a.m., you get an extra 50%. And between 6 and 9 a.m. on a Sunday, you get an extra 100%. So I work 9 hours each of these weekend days. 8.5 paid hours because I have a half-hour lunch break. So Saturday, I get around $32.58 per hour, times 8.5 equals $276.93. This also doesn't include retirement money. We do get 5% off our groceries and a further 5% off buying Woolworths brand products, but this isn't as much as you'd think. Last year, I saved somewhere between $600 to $700 for the entire year, thanks to my staff discount. It's not bad, but you'd be better off just getting a higher paying job. If you're wondering why I don't just get one of those, it's because there are none around my area, and I'm not driving 1.5 hours to Melbourne each way on the weekends for a little bit extra money. It wouldn't be worth it when you factor in petrol and time. Also, in this economy, it's a dumb idea to be leaving a super stable job like a supermarket job. So for Sundays, I get $39.09 per hour times 8.5 paid hours equals $332.27 for the Sunday shift. We also get cold allowances, which is like 34 cents an hour in my department. So 17 paid hours times 34 cents equals $5.78. Yay! Basically a free packet of extra gum per weekend. So I get about $615 a week before tax for working weekends at the wagey job. That's a huge chunk of extra money each week. Take off the tax, and this extra bit almost covers rent of $600 a week. But obviously, it comes at the cost of working literally every day in the week. I only get days off if there's a public holiday or if I schedule one off. These are the types of things you got to do to get ahead here in Australia. So on top of this extra income, I also pay no rent. Mentioned in a prior video? Yep, I'm 28 and I live at home. Gotta do what you gotta do to survive. I have no partner either. I know having someone else to split bills/additional income helps, but in my case, I'm on my own. Besides living at home, there's no help from my family. No rich parents, no rich uncle, no grandparents gifting me anything. 3 out of 4 of them have since passed on regardless, and no, I didn't get anything from inheritance. There's also no auntie that owns a big company that I can just get a job at. Nothing. I have to fend for myself. I mentioned this in a prior video, but the combination of living at home and the second job for the past 4 years has saved me/earned me somewhere between $190,000 and $230,000 in those 4 years alone, depending on how you want to calculate things. But if you could have an extra $190,000 to $230,000 in only 4 years, would you take that? I for sure would. But living at home at my age and working every weekend shouldn't have to be the norm. I shouldn't need to do this to get ahead, but I had to. So this extra money has helped me save for my own place. I'm in the process of building right now. I had a $116,000 down payment for my land, on top of the $16,250 I paid years ago to secure the land. I've had to pay other bullshit fees too, and now I'm going to fork out another $45,000 to my home builder, on top of the $13,700 that I've already paid them. So all up, my total down payment towards the land and home builder is going to be $190,950. What? I didn't even realize it was this much until I did these calculations. Holy smokes. Okay, so a lot of money down, hey. Where did this money come from? Yep, living at home and working the second job. The extra money I earned from a second job over those 4 years and living at home with mummy and daddy in my 20s has made up this gap. Oh wait, no it didn't, because did you forget? I also worked a full-time accounting job throughout this whole time too. And no, I wasn't on my $80,000 the whole time. I started off on about $51,000, then $56,000 after probation. Then it went up to $58,825, then $70,000, and now $80,000. So if I managed to save and earn an extra $190,000 to $230,000 by doing the extras, all while working an accounting job that whole time, imagine where I'd be without the extra job and if I didn't live at home. Basically, every cent I got ahead by, that went straight into real estate. I wouldn't have had this. I only managed to get my own place by working every day of the week and staying at home. Now, obviously, I had annual leave days and public holidays here and there, but on a normal week, I work every day. Now, living at home is nice, but it comes with drawbacks, most notably the commute time. I spend more than 2 hours each day in the car driving to work, since I can't work from home in my role. That's a lot of time and petrol over those years. It's still cheaper than rent. And also, yes, I did work every day on a normal week, but obviously public holidays exist and I have annual leave, paid time off. So I did use some of that, but most of that was used for exam study, because I was studying my CPA this whole time too. I've only recently just finished. So those days off weren't really days off. They were just study days. And more often than not, I'd get asked to work at Woolies on the public holiday. And I'd say yes to that because that's some good extra coin. Also, in terms of my house/land, you could have gotten something smaller. The general consensus is you buy something small and then work your way up. I skipped a step. See, if you buy something smaller, you're saddled with those mortgage repayments, which eats up the money for your next down payment. The debt you have from that smaller property eats into what you could service for your loan. And smaller properties don't have as much capital growth. So basically, buying something smaller, if anything, hurts your ability to get something larger later. I can talk about the math behind this another time, but for the point of this vid, buying something small, as a single guy like myself, would basically lock me into that place for at least 10 years. Whereas I just grinded a bit more earlier on in my life to bypass that step. My house is a 4-bed, 2-bath, 2-car garage, 2 lounge, 1 outdoor living home in a nice middle-class suburban type neighborhood. Without my second job, I'd only be able to afford some small unit or apartment, and if I rented that whole time, I probably couldn't even afford that. But again, shouldn't have to do this, and it's only getting worse. Can't imagine what the younger generation will have to do. They'll probably just be stuck with small units/apartments. So eventually, I'll be fine. Based on current interest rates in Australia, which probably won't change in 2025, my mortgage repayments seem like they'll be around $2,473 a month, times 12 divided by 52, means it's about $570 a week. Based on my net pay, this is about 33% of my net income, a pretty comfortable amount. However, it's only this low due to having such an enormous down payment, which I would not have if I didn't work job 2 or live at home for a lot longer than normal. This also presumes my income stays the same. Chances are it'll go up since I'm a CPA, but I have no intention of leaving my current job, and I'm unsure of any raises due to business performance, to say the least. It's also probably a bad idea to leave a job in this economy. Better off just playing it safe and taking a bit of a pay cut. Well, I'm not going to get a pay cut, but taking a stagnant pay rate. Now, imagine I didn't work job 2 or stay at home. Where would I be? Bloody struggling, that's for sure. Earning around $130,000 less in total income over those 4 years, or saving $60 to $100K less in those 4 years, would have put me way behind. No way I'd be able to survive, even with a job with a useful degree. I could earn more if I got a gig in Melbourne, But then my rent would be even higher. Well, I don't pay rent, but the rent would be even higher than in my local city. Or I'd have to spend literally at least 4 hours commuting each day. To hell with that, I'd rather just earn less money. So that's why I needed 2 jobs to survive in this economy. You also probably need to live at home for a lot longer than you thought. The money you can save in just a few years of being at home can make a huge difference in terms of your down payment towards your own place. The extra money from another job also drastically helps, but this shouldn't be the norm. This is also the point of view from a single male. If you had kids or a lower paying job, imagine how much worse things would be. It's a rough economy out here. What I did should not have to be the norm. Unfortunately, if you didn't come from a wealthy family, like me, no money in my bloodline, you're going to have to go the extra mile. A few people in my personal life were wondering, why am I doing this? You're missing out on memories you could be making since you're at another job each weekend. My answer is, I don't have a choice. If I want a house, this is what I have to do. I could buy something small, but the larger house will basically be able to replace my weekend job income. 3 spare bedrooms, renting out for $270 a week, which is pretty standard currently in the sort of neighborhood that I bought in. And that's at today's rate, let alone, in 2, 3, 4 years from now. But $270 a week for each bedroom, that's $810 a week in rent. That's $42,120 a year. I make like $33,000 to $36,000 a year from working weekends at Woolies. I'll literally make more from this house per year as opposed to working all weekend. But this is only possible by going the extra mile earlier on. Another thing, those people who asked me that whole memories thing, they had partners. They have another income source to help them out. I don't. And getting into a relationship so you have someone to help with a house payment is a dumb idea, especially since in the event of a breakup, I'd lose the house. Since that's generally how family courts work here in Australia, the man gets screwed over. So for my life, I needed the second job. I needed to work 7 days a week to survive. I had no lifelines, no backup plans, no one but myself to save me. I made the best of my situation. I had no choice but to work the 2 jobs. A higher paying role in the big city makes no sense, since you'd lose the extra income through increased rent, and the extra commute time would destroy your quality of life. Bye-bye gym and everything else I'm doing. I'd also have had no time to study for the CPA exams either. And there are no other part-time weekend jobs around my region. My best option is quite literally the supermarket job. This is the hand I was dealt, so I have no choice but to play with it, as per the rules in the game of life. How are you all going in this economy? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. That is all.